In today's video, we're going to be turning a patch of grass into a food-producing garden that not only produces future food, but also its own mulch, its own nutrition, so that it can feed and nourish the soil. So that you can go outside and pick your own groceries right outside the door. Let's start at the beginning. I'm really wishing I had a little digger and I could just Over the next few days, I began the task of digging up the grass and shaking off what little topsoil there was. I recently came across Syntropic Agroforestry and I love learning about it. It's similar to what I do out here with my food forest style garden, but on a whole other level, and I'm excited to have a space to be able to experiment and try new things. I've dug a 2 metre wide strip in the grass, removed as much of the grass as I could, and that's going to give me room for a 1 metre tree line and then half a metre on each side, so I can grow my own mulch. So this garden bed will be self-sufficient. I'll be able to do some chop and drop really easily along the sides and push that in to the main tree line garden bed to feed it. So now I need to add some amendments to the soil. It is basically pure sand, so as much compost as I can find just to add some nutrients into it and to try and retain as much moisture as I can. So I may even add some sort of clay amendments as well, because that's going to help retain moisture, and out here in my hot front yard with pure sand I need as much water retention as I can. I have 3 compost bins on the go so that I always have access to compost, and this is full of nutrients and microbes. I even found a few sprouting avocado seeds that I'm going to pot up. To prepare my worm castings to use, I put the most decomposed one on top, remove anything that is yet to be eaten or broken down, and leave the lid off for a few hours. The worms move down to the other layers to escape the light, and then I can harvest the castings to use. I've mixed together a whole lot of good compost in here that I can add to my sand pit to add some nutrition. It's got lots of good stuff in here. So this is a mix of some mushroom compost, some a whole bunch of compost from my garden, as well as worm castings and a bag of seed raising mix that I had. So I've just mixed it all together in this wheelbarrow, and that way I can get it all mixed in nice and good, and this is going to give my garden a bit of a boost. I would love to have more soil, but I don't want to buy any more in, so this is going to have to do, and then we can build layers and layers of mulch and good stuff on top. And you can see that it's got lots of fibre, so it's holding moisture well compared to my sand pit. So this is just pure sand. It doesn't hold moisture. Now I'm just marking out my main tree line and adding the compost. You can really see the colour difference. I'm mixing the good soil with my natural soil, which will help with drainage and also get the plants used to their new environment so they don't get such a shock when their roots break through that good soil and hit the sand. This avocado has been sitting in some water and seaweed solution in preparation to be planted out, but as a last minute idea I decided to use that liquid to soak some cocoa peat in. This will help add fibre to my soil and retain moisture. It's about using what I have and getting started. Another thing I have an abundance of at the moment is New Zealand spinach or warrigal greens. Using my pruning shears, I can easily trim off the excess and use that as chop and drop to get my feed lines started. You can now see the layout starting to come together with a main central tree line, rows for green material or chop and drop, and the outside edges are where I'll be growing all of my material for future mulch and chop and drop, trying to create a holistic style garden. So this is the Triple C mulch, which is corn, chicken and canola. I've never used this before, but I just wanted to grab one bag of good stuff. And then I've also got a bale of straw that's going to go on top, that's going to break down a lot slower. So this is going to add nutrition, and then the other one is more so to protect the soil for a longer period of time. Because I'm doing this last minute, I didn't have time to collect enough cardboard, but I'm going to use cardboard along the edges and then add the straw on top to try and keep these weeds at bay a bit. Make sure I remove any of this tape on here. It's important to give the cardboard a good soak on both sides. So the base is done. Now it's time to get this planted. I'm going to plant as densely as I can, as many plants as I can pack into a space, so that I can try and get everything covered before summer. I'm not going to plant all of the main tree line in yet. I'm going to plant one, and then I'm going to probably plant the others at the end of summer and autumn. But in the meantime, I'm going to try and grow as much biomass as I can, lots of things that I can chop and drop and feed back into the soil, because although I put compost in there, it's definitely not enough. I need a lot more nutrition to try and retain that water. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of an experiment, but I'm just going to plant all the things. And a big thanks to HOSELINK for sponsoring this video. Watering a garden, especially when it's newly established, is so important, and not procrastinating and going out and quickly using the retractable hose has been a game changer for me. Because if I don't go out and water my gardens and it's a hot day, then chances are something's going to die, and we don't want that. I've popped the links below with the hose reels that I use, as well as the other tools like my favourite pruning shears that are going to be perfect for this chop and drop. Now let's get planting. To start off with, on the edges, I'm going to plant all of my chop and drop along the outside. So that is things like, I've got the yacon. So this will grow lots more leaves, and it grows a tuber under the ground, so it's going to give me a harvest, but also I'm going to be able to use these leaves to feed the soil. I'm also going to dig up some Queensland arrowroot that I have growing around different parts of my garden and use that, because again, that's another really good one for chop and drop, but also creates this multiplying tuber under the ground. So the sides will be all of the biomass, and then the middle I'm going to do a mix of edible flowers and some annuals. So while I'm waiting for my tree crops to grow, I'm probably going to do some chilies and cherry tomatoes, basil, all that sort of stuff, so I can utilise the space while I'm waiting for my main tree crop to grow. Where I can, I like to split up the plants to create multiple patches. It's a lot more economical, and it also helps spread the risk if one dies or gets attacked. This is one of my avocados. The other one, the dwarf one, I'm going to put in a different spot, but this is the only spot in my front yard really that I can put the biggest tree, and I've decided to put a choquette avocado. So that is going to grow huge fruits. Each fruit is about 1 kg, and this will get to be a big tree, but I'm just going to keep it well pruned. And this spot here is only going to block a little bit of the morning sun, so it should be alright for the rest of my garden. It's not going to shade out the rest of my garden. Fingers crossed it likes its new home. I'm going to give it some temporary shade and also a really good stake, because it's quite flimsy. Avocados hate their roots being disturbed, so I'm being as gentle as possible. They also like protection from the harsh afternoon sun and wind, so this temporary shade should help. As added protection, I'm making sunblock for the trunk using water-based white paint and water at a ratio of 50:50. I also did this with the mango too. I had to put planting on hold for a week while we had a heat wave. It's so important to check the weather forecast when you are planting out new gardens, especially as it was jumping from 20 degrees to 36. I have always wanted to grow a mango and I'm so excited that I finally have one. I don't know why it's taken me this long, but we have mangoes. This is the lemon mango and I also have a Parma mango, so I need to find a home for that too. I'm planting this watermelon to grow along the bottom to take up that bottom space, and I'm going to plant a whole bunch of other annuals as well, so that while I'm waiting for my main trees to grow, I can start getting harvest straight away. I'm planting some pigeon peas for some quick shade, and they are also nitrogen fixing. So this is going to help me build soil, and then I can use the trimmings to feed the garden. The pigeon peas are edible, they also have flowers for the bees. I'm planting little collections of seeds that grow well together and will take up different heights and areas of space. I've also planted some natives that I had just sitting around, and these are really hardy and going to grow well in this hot front yard to provide some shade and some protection, as well as flowers for the local wildlife. And if you want to follow along with the progress of this garden, then make sure you are subscribed and also check out the playlist of all the videos that future Holly is going to make.